Once again, this is the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. It is a Monday. We call it a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. It also is a Dateline Dolphins Monday, as Dolphins commentator from CBS 4 and also Phinsider himself, John Congemi, football analyst for ESPN for years and does things to this day, again, CBS 4 and for the Miami Dolphins directly. John Congemi joins us each and every Monday to talk Miami Dolphins and all things NFL. He'll talk about the Combine. He'll talk about everything football right now. The Defo Show with the Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with John Congemi.
Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi. That means we're talking football. And after just an excellent, that was an invigorating discussion on a game of golf. Because I like that tournament players thing. Now, I know I've probably asked you this before. You've played TPC Sawgrass, I would imagine?
I have.
And? How many? How many went in?
Very difficult. I hit
the alcohol, though? I mean, did you plant one on the green there?
I did. I hit one on the green on 17, which was a miracle.
Nice.
It wasn't playing very difficult. I think it was only playing maybe 135 yards at
my kind of hole.
Played.
Yes.
So those guys are playing it from a little bit further back on certain days, probably 2 of the 4 days for sure. But it was a hard course, like we were talking about earlier, just demanding off the tee. Have to hit the fairways because in the conditions it's going to be in this week with the rough up and just hard to hold the greens if you hit it in there. It's a premium on hitting fairways, and that's going to be a carryover from Bay Hill.
All right, I'm going to send you the list. All right, the magic question. And the question of the day, and this is Lubie's Twitter poll and whatever else he can come up with that we can hopefully attract some attention and get some people involved in the show. But it's become an interesting one because you would think if Aaron Rodgers was going to leave Green Bay, that he would be absolutely ideally suited to take over the San Francisco 49ers because they already know about Mike McDaniel's innovative running game. So I would imagine Kyle Shanahan, no slouch in that category himself, probably understands all of the components that went into whatever McDaniel was doing there. So that loss maybe doesn't hurt them in terms of their offensive schematics at all. And if you put Aaron Rodgers in there throwing a rock, it's a whole new ballgame. And maybe an easier situation for him to go out the door in than having to be relied upon almost entirely, to throw the ball, down the field on any given play. And what would he do with Deebo Samuel? It'd be interesting. Or John Congemi, I don't know if you're hearing these rumors, if there's any merit to them whatsoever, but this was brought up to us by Brett Tesser, the agent to the Stars, who's got a little inside knowledge of what's going on, that Tom Brady's coming out of retirement and his desire is to be the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. What's more likely to happen, if any of it happens? Let's go with 3 choices. Rodgers, Brady, none of the above.
I don't know. I think that it would go Rodgers, Tom Brady, in my opinion, because I don't know if Tampa Bay is willing to do anything with Tom Brady.
That's a thing.
What would they do? I mean, they can't hold him hostage. I mean, Giselle would bite Bruce Arians, and
they kind of can. I don't. The draft choices and the amount of players that the 49ers would have to give up to Tampa Bay in terms of securing Tom Brady might be astronomical. Aaron Rodgers, I could see kind of being the easier fit because he's been looking to get out of Green Bay. You plug him into San Francisco with the wealth of talent at wide receiver and running back, the offensive line, and a pretty good defense, a coach / coordinator that you're going to hit it off, 100%. It seems to me that would be the logical choice if you're the 49ers, if you can pull it off. Tom Brady, I don't know. I kind of take him at his word that he's retired. I think he's, 80%
supposedly he's
retired.
opened the window, to consider that, you never know, type of thing. One of those Money Mayweather retirements, or Roberto Duran, who retired.
The thing that sucks is the Bucks, when they've actually asked. The first thing they've said is the door's open, so they want him back. Second, Arians said, of course we wouldn't just let him go. That'd be stupid business. So that's a problem. I forgot about the Bucks aspect of they can sort of pull up Barry Sanders where you can want to do whatever you want, buddy. You have a contract with us.
You're not going to be able to do it unless we, whatever team that is meets our terms and draft choices and wherever it comes in from. So I would rank it Rodgers, Trey Lance, and then Tom Brady.
All right, that's fair. So you see Rodgers being a more likely possibility than none of the above.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
Right.
And who knows where Jimmy Garoppolo is going to end up? I mean,
well, he's not going to end up there. We know that.
Shoulder surgery, number one. Coming back from that. That's another thing. A lot of these quarterbacks, I don't know why they don't get surgery right after the season so they could have more time to prepare and get ready. Even if they're going to skip OTAs altogether anyway because they're having the surgery, at least for training camp, they're going to be ready. They don't have to work themselves into 2 or 3 weeks into training camp and now all of a sudden they're deemed healthy. I just never got that with the timing of the medical staff. I mean, maybe they're waiting because they're swelling and they have to let this, whatever knee, shoulder, hip, whatever you're having surgery, kind of, calm down a little bit. But I just never got that aspect of it.
Seems weird. And then there's the occasional guy that gets surgery right before the season.
Yeah, right at the end of the offseason.
And you're like, what? Yeah. Now you decided to do that? What are you kidding me? All right, I'm looking at, and Lubie says these times may be bogus. That all of a sudden, like Rich Eisen is running a 4.8 with his suit on and street shoes.
Yeah.
Multiple guys set records, like multiple.
I don't know. I mean, is there an abundance of speed suddenly? I mean, obviously, there's always an evolution in terms of athletic accomplishment and what separates great ones from also-rans, but. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs that ran a sub 4.40 at the combine. Are you buying these times as being for real, John Congemi?
I don't know. I think they're probably close to accurate. Whether you're off a tenth of a second, whether you got to be within that realm, right? But gosh, those guys run really fast. How many patterns are those guys running? The defensive backs. I mean. How fast is he in a back pedal? How fast is he in a transition?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting beat all the time, that's really good to know that your guy can catch up.
He can catch up.
And maybe
he came and made the tackle.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think the times are close. But those guys are trained. I mean, bigger, faster, stronger, right? From 10 years ago to now, from 10 years back to 20 years back. Plus the training for every aspect of the combine, because these guys know half of the NFL is still going to, get the hair coming up on the back of their neck when somebody runs a 4.31. Oh, wow, we found a diamond in the rough. This is a guy we really got to dive into. And they kind of go overboard on the numbers comparatively to, oh, wow, how fast was he with pads when he was actually covering somebody? Why did that receiver from Ohio State have 11 catches for 272 yards against this guy when he runs a 4.31? I don't understand. So does the combine even come close to matching up from what you see on film? Or does your in-person interview, which is probably the most important thing from the combine and probably high on the list from Senior Bowl, because at least at the Senior Bowl, you're seeing guys practice for 3 days in pads doing football movements, do actual games type setting movements. So that's a little bit closer to what you want to see as a scout, as a position coach, as a head coach. So are those times close? Yes. Probably. Are they accurate? Some of them. But these guys are training at such a high level for the 40, for the long jump, for the high jump, for the 3-cone drill, all the things they need to do, that they've started doing that in their off seasons as a junior, preparing that they're going to be in this realm and in the mix as a graduate.
Were you any good at the broad jump? I absolutely sucked at the broad jump.
I can't.
Standing
probably
broad jump.
Not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah.
And now it would be especially difficult to even, never mind the lack of leaping ability, period. But I don't know. These guys are going like 11 feet like they're Bob Beamon or something, man. It's amazing.
My broad jump increases when I hear the tone of my wife's voice saying my first name. If it's very high pitched, I can go from the couch all the way to the front door in about 3 leaps.
Yeah, I'm ready. I said I was ready.
Let's go. You said you were ready.
All right, and I'm watching some of all I saw really. I mean, I saw some clips here and there, that were featured on various, sports news broadcasts. But I watched a little of it last night, just a couple of seconds. They happen to have the quarterbacks throwing the ball, and this is supposed to be an especially weak quarterback contingent that's coming out of the college ranks. So with the number one guy possibly being your man, Kirby Pickett, from the University of Pittsburgh. But
Pickett, yeah.
You remember? You remember how offended and sensitive Donald Trump was when Stormy Daniels was implying that he has small hands and therefore other parts of his body and appendages may be rather tiny also. And he was like, "Oh no, man! Look at these hands, man!" And he was like O.J. Simpson holding up the fact that the gloves didn't fit. This is the thing that came out of the combine. Was that hands, your guy has like small hands. I mean, what do we make of that? And should the kid, should that go public? Should that be information that is kept only among the people, in the combine, so that people don't think this Pickett kid, is walking around a little bit compromised?
He's got a problem. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, everything's kind of analyzed and overanalyzed. I just know that if his hand size didn't measure up to the equivalent of whatever the average is, 9 inches from your tip of your thumb all the way to your pinky finger, however they do that.
Yeah.
Right. So he wears gloves and that helps him throw the football. And maybe he wears gloves because it's a better grip for him. Maybe he feels more comfortable doing it because he's done it in domes. He's done it when it's 90 degrees out. He's done it when it's
isn't the weather crazy in Pittsburgh? It's not like it's beautiful.
Well, I mean, you're going to get some really nasty raw days in the fall.
And he seemed to excel.
Especially in October, November. So, yeah, I mean, that only can help you as a quarterback. Most of the time when it's cold and it's not raining, but it may be snowing or it's a little bit, you have that tack in the air. Sometimes not wearing a glove is better. You have that grip naturally just because of the elements outside. But, some of these quarterbacks are end up going in the first round, and they're going to end up going to teams that are going to challenge them to be the starter, to be the guy. Kenny Pickett's one of them. I think Willis is another guy that's going to have a chance to do that. Maybe the Steelers are interested in him because of the dynamic of the running ability that he brings to the table. I think Corral from Ole Miss is going to be another guy that you're going to see maybe elevated in the draft status because there's not a lot of guys to choose from. And more importantly for him, he was hurt in the bowl game, which he decided to play. So he wasn't able to partake in a lot of the things at the combine. So his pro day is going to be that much more important to him.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to say, but yeah, supposedly they're worried about the hand size of Pickett because of fumbles. But again, that's why he played in Pittsburgh, and I don't think it's a dome, Heinz Field. So he's playing in elements, and he was never known to be a fumbler. So I feel like they're just trying to make something scientific that's not. The question that I wanted to ask about the combine, because a lot of people say, again, when are you going to see even the defensive linemen, when are you seeing them run 40-yard dashes? Yeah, when they get up a fumble and they're running to the end zone, it's usually not a dash. They're usually gasping for air and hoping they fall their ass into the end zone. From a Dolphins perspective, because we've talked draft with you the last few years about what the Dolphins need, and you and I have been on the same page when it comes to running backs. What are the combine things that you'd look at? Because the Dolphins do need offensive linemen. They need running backs and they need receivers. What are the best combine activities for those positions outside of the 40 and I guess the bench press, which is something supposedly a lot of guys weren't even doing this time around?
Yeah, and a lot of guys will end up not doing it at the combine and do it at the pro day for whatever reason, because there's more time for them if they had an injury, training, they're trying to, buy some time for something else. And then some guys want to do both. Some guys want to showcase their talents. I could do it, in February, March, and I can do it again in beginning of April, just to prove that I'm not a flash in the pan. So those guys that are kind of on the fence might want to have 2 cracks or 2 kicks at the can, just in case, the second one's a little bit better than what they did at the combine. And they're in the friendly confines of their indoor facility where they're more comfortable, where they practiced for 3 or 4 seasons. Dolphin-wise, I mean, what can they do at the combines? Obviously, the wide receivers, they want to see how agile they are, how they can do in a straight line in terms of 40-yard dash. But then all of a sudden, the drill where they're catching the football running down the line, say they're running down the 20-yard line from sideline to sideline. They want to see him catch, turn their hips, are they a body catcher? If it's a tough pass that's behind them on the hip, what kind of attributes can they garner from watching the body language of a guy catch a football? For an offensive lineman, and maybe it's their sets, and maybe how well do their feet work with their hands, and what they see at the combine. Let's go back and watch the tape. He was bad as a tackle because he got beat up the field. Well, we didn't see that much at the combine. Maybe we can fix that by giving him a better set, or using his hands earlier in his pass protection, or making sure his balance is better because he was, his hands were way out in front of his feet. They can pick out things like that. And then I think the most important thing, can they take what they learned from Indianapolis, go back and watch the tape of watching games, 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and does that seem like it's realistic? Did we see the right guy at the combine, or did he have a bad day at the combine because he was much better in his game tape, or he was much twitchier as a wide receiver in his game tape than he was at the combine? We didn't get to see that. So I think it's all bits and pieces of the puzzle they're trying to put together at the end of the day. The combine gets blown up because there's nothing else to talk about, right? There's no more football.
We managed to milk it for about 20 minutes here.
Exactly. Which is great for us.
Excuses we were coming in.
Yeah.
But part of what good sports talk is all about, right?
It's all about putting pieces together, the puzzle, and does he fit what you want to run? Like Mike McDaniel, to your point, Defo, he leaves San Francisco. San Francisco's not all of a sudden going to not be able to run the football.
Yeah.
But can the Miami Dolphins, with his scheme and what they're looking for, I don't know. Yeah. But getting pieces to the puzzle that fit his scheme, you get a guy like Mike Gesicki, who's is going to be a free agent. Is he going to get tagged? But does he fit a 2, 3, possibly 4 tight end room with what they want to do in formations to run the football? Obviously Mike's not going to be your first guy raising his hand like he's the best blocker on the team, but what he gives you, other guys don't. How does that weigh in to the philosophy and the schematically what McDaniel's going to do on offense? Those are the things in the offseason they're talking about now.
I keep having my Vince Lombardi moment with McDaniel, because the one play that I saw that illustrated some of the things I guess they were doing in the running game, and especially to have like Deebo Samuel explode up the middle for like 40 yards on every carry. I mean, they were pulling this left tackle all the way across the line of scrimmage. And I still see this illustration as if they would put a seal over here and a seal over here. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's pretty innovative. And when you were, mentioning could the Dolphins apply these tactics, do they have the personnel to run these schemes? You would think not, because usually their right tackle or left tackle is running for his life. So it might not be easy. The other thing too, you always see the one group that they'll have the shots at the combine. The guys are working out on the field, they're doing all this crazy stuff there, running around in circles and around cones and everything. And you're looking, going, man, that's pretty impressive. What an athletic specimen this guy is. And then you'll see like the Dolphin guys when Tannenbaum especially was the GM, and they're like eating a sandwich. You see the guy turning around while the other guys are trained on the field with binoculars. So, it depends, what level of observation that you make and how much, commitment you'll make to actually taking a look at what's going on. Now remember going out to the Sandlot, John Congemi, and maybe you would take like a young Tommy Fox out there, and you would just like slap the ball, and that was his, signal to go.
Right.
And the idea was to just have him run a fly pattern, but you were going to throw the ball as far as you could, like the second he left the line of scrimmage, because there was nobody on him.
Yep.
And you just wanted to see if a guy could run under, your longest pass. And it felt great. And then he, make the catch as he was about to stumble and, catch it by the very tip of the football, take it in the end zone, and an imaginary spike. But how easy was that by comparison? I mean, is that a real test of a guy's ability to throw the long ball when there's they don't even have a guy putting up token pressure,
no pressure
against the receiver? I mean, so you have like some way to evaluate whether or not he's going to be accurate with the football besides just throwing to a wide open guy.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me, Defo. I mean, all you have to do is put enough air under the football and let the guy run under it. Whether you throw it 45 yards, 55 yards, or what Malik Willis did, I think he threw it close to 65 or 70 yards down the field. That's a little bit tougher. but you're just trying to throw catchable passes. And that's very easy, I would think, for all of those quarterbacks to do. And we saw a lot of those guys just connect, hitting wide receivers in stride. So to your point, it's not the toughest drill in the world to do. They don't put these guys in situations. They just want to see maybe, the arc of the football, the velocity of the football, how it comes out. Or is it a guy that, we had a little doubt on his arm strength. He threw that ball 62 yards. So, maybe under duress, he's okay when he's pumped up. But just on air, those footballs should never really hit the ground.
How high did you have to throw it for Fox to get underneath it on your longest passes?
Well, if that was a scenario, putting Tom outside and just letting him run, it would have been fairly easy. He was more of a guy that was bumping into people and getting open. So
and that would be a dangerous thing to consider, having Tommy Fox mow you down there.
That's right.
In some blocking scheme, that's for sure. And I'm sure he had his share of catches.
He did.
As a tight end. All right, so, the quarterbacks don't overwhelm you. I watched a little D'Eriq King, and we were talking about this earlier before you came on, John. D'Eriq King out of the University of Miami may be a little bit of a forgotten commodity because not only did he miss the last 9 games of the season with an injury, but also the kid that came in to replace him, like this freshman, looked like he was absolutely fantastic. So not much mention of D'Eriq King. Where does he fit in as a potential draftee, in your opinion? Automatically with a guy like that, you start thinking, 5th round. Is that like an accurate assessment? Because he threw a couple of nice balls when he had the chance, the limited opportunity that he had to demonstrate his passing skills.
Yeah, I don't know if D'Eriq King is going to get an opportunity to be drafted. He's a terrific athlete.
Free agent, huh? Undrafted?
Wow. Well, I don't know. It all depends on what team is looking for an undersized quarterback that is more known for his running ability than his passing ability. And that's not to say that there isn't a team out there for him, because he brings a lot to the table. But in an underwhelming class from top to bottom already, you've got a guy that you have question marks with injury, you've got question marks with his height, and you've got question marks with velocity of throwing the football. So I don't know if this is a guy that's going to get drafted like the kid from Navy did, where the Dolphins drafted Malcolm Perry a few years ago, and they use him as a slash type of guy, where he could be a quarterback, but they drafted him primarily to either see if he could fit at a running back or a slot receiver or maybe a returner. And D'Eriq King may get his shot at quarterback at the next level, but I don't see a team specifically drafting him to do that. They know he can, but what else can he bring to the table? So that's why I see him potentially missing the drafting and going somewhere as a free agent.
Look, and as a guy that played quarterback, and you're undersized by the definition of quarterbacks, like, I understand size doesn't matter, quote unquote, anymore to a certain extent, right? You see Baker Mayfield get drafted 1, Kyler Murray drafted 1, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees have Hall of Fame level success as under 6'2" guys, but they're around 6 feet. Like, no one's like, even Kyler is at least, and 2 are 5'10", 5'11". Like, they're not 5'8". Like, if you're telling me D'Eriq King's 5'8", at some point when linemen are 6'3" and 6'4" and 6'5", like, height does have to matter. I know we want to dream and be mythical and fairy tales, but 5'8", like, that's really hard, at least for me, who's, I guess, sort of old school, to get past. Like, as a guy who's been around the game, like, what can you do if a guy's 5'8" to really find a way to have him be successful, especially, like you said, with all the things he has already against him on top of that?
Yeah, it's the percentages are very low that you're going to have continued success at that level. Just look, perfect example, Kyler Murray, because he kind of fits what D'Eriq King does as a quarterback. So what do they have to do? They have to go a lot of empty. They have to do a lot of RPO type of stuff. They have to create space and create lanes for him to throw the football. When does Kyler Murray get flustered? When does his percentage go down? It's when pressure is up the middle and he can't see anything. Yep. All he sees is jerseys. So he has to use his athletic ability to get out of the pocket, either make a play with his legs, make a play down the field throwing the football. And once you do that and you start getting to up tempo, now defenses back off, defensive lines get tired, you're in shotgun, you have more room, so now you have more space. The problem is when they're not successful on early downs, you get the pressure up front, and now frustration sets in because you can't see anything. And I'm sure Kyler Murray goes through stretches like that. We saw it in the playoffs in terms of, or late in the season, we saw that. And we saw that in the last game that they played. It was frustration at a highest level that he couldn't get anything going because there was nowhere to go with the football. So the only thing he left to do is use his athletic ability to get outside. And at some point, you find out that you can outrun him once or twice, but you can't do it all game.
John Congemi with us at Dateline Dolphins here on Appeal Yourself Off the Mount Monday, the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz. I don't know if you had a chance to really survey this, but of the free agents that are out there, who seems to be the one that you think might create the most buzz? Or if you have an angle on what the Dolphins would like to do in free agency, or if there's a particular guy that some team should target, where do we stand with that? Or is it too soon to tell?
I think it's not too soon to tell. Obviously, Godwin from Tampa Bay as a wide receiver is going to garner a lot of attention. Adams from Green Bay is going to garner a lot of attention. I'm looking at the wide receivers and probably the offensive linemen. It looks like Orlando Brown's going to get the tag in Kansas City. So that would be a guy that, the Dolphins might have had interest in. I think they're going to look for offensive linemen and a wide receiver in free agency. And if they don't get the wide receiver in free agency, they're going to have to double down in the draft because they need some talent to go around, a second-year pro and what Waddle was able to do, for this football team. And they have to make a decision with a lot of players that are currently on the roster. You have to make a decision on the outside with Parker and Williams, whether they're going to be around, obviously at tight end. So for me, the Dolphins' focus right now in free agency is offensive line and getting the right pieces to the puzzle and being able to maybe secure an outside wide receiver.
Kind of a weird career for Devontae Parker, huh? I mean, he looked like at one time, early on, it looked like a complete bustology 101 pick. And then it looked like, wow, this guy really could be a standout. And of late, it's been come see, come si. You just don't know what you're going to get. You see the guy out on the field, and he does well, but he's not always out on the field.
Exactly.
How would you label his career, Rick? Because, they came in with a lot of promise. He wasn't necessarily the best known, but everybody was like, oh, yeah, Devontae Parker, this guy's going to be good. And he looked like one of those guys that would be able to outsize a lot of defensive backs and, had enough speed and a good enough pair of hands to really be a factor. But just never really fulfilled that promise. So, you mentioned he's questionable to even come back to the team. So, it's been a tough go for him.
Well, when Devontae's been good, he's been really good. And he has a tendency to kind of, when you see that, you go, wow, why aren't we using him more? But his availability has also been a problem too. Sometimes he can disappear because of an injury or just disappear because of the scheme or, the ball doesn't find him enough. And I think availability has to do with that. He's had some lingering issues with injury that have kept him off the field. And when you do that and you're not a guy that's doing it in back-to-back weeks, it's tough to rely on you. It's tough to build your offense around your passing game around a guy that's not available for 6 or 7 games out of the season. Or when he is, maybe he disappears for 2 or 3 of those. Now, whether that's quarterback, whether that's scheme, whether that's Devontae, it gets heaped on his lap regardless because he set the bar so high when he has his really good games. So it's an issue, and it's been an issue for the Dolphins front office to tangle with over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And that's why, when he's good, you go, let's get him the football more, but he's just not available enough due to injury.
Unfortunate, yeah. Unfortunately, too. This thing is zipped by today. Appeal yourself off the mat Monday. I'm just wondering, I was laughing a little bit as you were talking about Parker because I was picturing Mike McDaniel coming in, and, he does the press conference, and everything's great. We're going to win. And then he's shaking hands with Chris Greer and taking pictures with Stephen Ross. He's kissing the wife. The kid is all smiles. And do you think he then goes behind the curtain there, gets in the office, and looks at the roster and wants to wipe his ass with it? Says, my God, how are we going to win here? No, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. If this guy's as good as he's supposed to be, hopefully he can salvage some. But they definitely need to get some serious improvement in a couple of key areas.
Well, listen, I think he has a tough job. You win 9 games or 10 games and 9 games in the last 2 seasons and don't get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is to go from that number to 11, 12, or 13.
Yep.
And that's where the Dolphins need to be. So I think that's the toughest job of all.
Buffalo Bills, still looking very solid Super Bowl favorites in their division. Jets, supposedly, I mean, this is always with the Jets, ready to take a quantum leap forward. And the New England Patriots showed that, with Belichick around there, they're just not going to be a team that you can take out of consideration for anything. John, a pleasure.
We not only always have a blast when we're talking with John Congemi on Dateline Dolphins. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. We always learn a lot, too. John today joined us, talk about the Combine, talk a little bit of golf, as he's a big golf guy, but mostly talked about the Combine, talked about the Miami Dolphins, what they're looking for from the Combine for certain positions, and overall what the Miami Dolphins are looking for this offseason, be it offensive line, wide receiver, running back, and gave us John's bird's eye view of what he is looking for from free agency. Check us out each and every day if you want more of a bird's eye view from us, the Defo Show with Lubie. On the Ion channel, just search on Google The Defo Show, DEFO. You can always check us out. We do exclusive content on the Believe Network. We do a podcast each and every day called After Hours. So check that out today. Grant Long, Miami Heat, long time Miami Heat player. You want Miami Heat content? We talked a lot about the Miami Heat today on the Believe Network. Grant Long, former Heat player, 15-year NBA player, current Detroit Pistons analyst, talked about the Heat. Are they a contender, where they stand as the number 1 seed right now? And believes, of course, they are a contender. And some other things about the Eastern Conference and Western Conference today. So check that out on the Believe Network. Grant Long. And check us out tomorrow, the Defo Show with Lubie. Thank you again to John Congemi, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. Tune in tomorrow right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.